I find it disgusting that when I was 18, that these books I was reading were telling me to eat less food to lose weight, because I was overweight. I didn't understand portion sizes. And then I read this book. I can't remember the name of it. I could probably find it on a bookshelf. But the fact is it was telling me, you eat this much meat, you eat this much grains, you eat this much salad. And now seeing the outcome of everything in the world agenda, eating less food isn't going to make you thinner. There's a lot of people out there that eat a lot of food and they're still very thin. But at the core of what I was going through, and I did eat less food too, but nothing would work. Even eating less food would still make me fat. Now, the things are, we need to discuss, overweight people have to deal with trauma before they try to do anything else. Like, the underlying cause of being overweight is trauma. And they all cover it up. All of the professionals that know this try to tell us that we have to eat less food. You know, they're also pointing the finger. Oh, look at these people with all this stuff in their shopping carts. The preppers, you know, the people with all the food. You know, oh, fat people eat more. It's time to start looking at what's been done, the amount of bullying that people that are overweight go through. And when you're bigger like that, you just want to scream at everybody. Okay, I know. I'm big, okay? I get it. Go find something else to talk about. Because that's all you guys talk about is how big I am. And so like that's what, you know, overweight people want to say back to everybody. It's like, you know what, I'm just gonna make a joke about it because I'm big and I can't do anything about this till the trauma goes away. Everything I know now makes so much sense as to why I gained weight and why my frequency was low. I also want to talk about frequency, vibrational frequency, and obesity. And people that have more weight are kept at a lower frequency out of the environments, the traumas, and the people maybe around them. They're in ensnarements and entrapments that keep them at that vibrational frequency. There's basically, weight is a toxic frequency meter. So the people that have bigger mass, that are told to look thin, it's a big joke. Like the ones that are thin, like the models on the magazines, it's a joke to the evil ones because they know that the thinner people are parading on these fashion lines and in these dresses and things. Look how perfect their life is, but you know, targeted individual can never be like them because your frequency is slowed down so much by the events and things that are surrounding you. You can't have that. But it's dangled in front of your face. It's everywhere, teasing you. And then when you actually get to that weight, you realize, and why isn't it's not turning my video off right now? That's what I was talking about. They turned the video off. Insidious. When you get thin, because I've been all different kinds of weight, you realize, this isn't so special. This isn't, like, I mean, it feels great. It feels a lot lighter. I could do a lot. There's nothing holding me back. Because I could literally talk. I could be myself. I'm at the forefront. There's really nothing else left to me because I'm just basically a little bit of skin, fat, muscle, and bone instead of a lot of tissue, of fat tissue in between, which is really sugar tissue, which is really insulinemia. Because of the trauma, it becomes an armor. The vibration slows down to protect you when it's really actually harming you by slowing down. But there's a rhyme and a reason to why people gain weight because of traumatic experiences such as narcissism, bullying. I'm sorry, I'm talking so quiet. And then, yeah, it's just really weird getting to that weight and being like normal and you know, people look at you and they think you've never had a problem in your life. You have everything is that. It's this weird feeling like, oh, you're just some like little cheerleader girl. Like, you might as well go throw some pom-poms. Like, it's a really weird feeling. Because when you're bigger, you get to show your tiger stripes. You get to show what you've been through in the world, and you have something to show for it physically, and it's actually kind of cool. And when I was thin, I was like, I don't have anything to show what I've been through, and everybody thinks I've just been like this my whole life now. Like, people I would meet. The health side of it, though, it's very healthy it is healthy to be thinner. In a time of a famine, though. And then also, the book that was talking about portion size. You know, the meat should be the size of your fist. The palm of your hand should be the carbs, and the rest should be vegetables. Did that book ever talk about demons? Prayer? Did that book ever talk about the actual spiritual war that we're fighting? So, weight and vibrational frequency is huge, because being at a lower weight means lower vibrational frequency. Being in a middle frequency, I found, was the most dangerous for me, because it's like a lot of bad things would happen when I reach 165, that frequency, and it would be like, it could be good things or it could be really bad. It's like a wavering thing. And then, yeah, so the lighter frequencies are obviously higher, more Christed frequencies of weight. And when you think about it, weight is so big. Like, the bullies, for, if you know what I'm talking about, they always use weight. You're fat. You know, they use, you're fat, you're ugly because you're fat. And I find it to be quite the opposite. I find, in myself, I find heavier males to be very attractive. Much more so than, like, super skinny. It doesn't really matter. It matters about the spirit of the person. But if that person has been through a lot and they're actively they're stuck or they're trying to get out, and in that moment that you meet them, they're like, they've got that bigger, I find that so attractive. It's so beautiful to see someone getting out, you know, even if they haven't gotten there yet. And it's in the bully's best interest to get you to think that you're not good enough or enough to speak your truth. And that's actually what happened to me in 2020 and 2021. I couldn't stand how I looked in the mirror, and it was like a constant bringing up, like, oh, look how big you are compared to another person. Oh, you're as big as that person. Like, it was just a constant. I literally never felt good enough. It's like, we have to understand that we're never going to be perfect, and we have to embrace all of our vulnerabilities. And in 2017, 2018, I was the least vulnerable I've ever been, because I was being myself, and I could change in the future. I didn't have to always be one way or the other, or whatever I was saying at that point in time, but that was me. And the problem with bullying people about their weight is that they feel like they can't be them, even if that's them at that moment. Even if behind doors, that person that's bigger is eating salads all the time and working out till their heart just flutters constantly, or they're struggling with sleeping on time because of all the past trauma building up in their mind and their body, or waking up night terrors, so they can't process their food properly, and they can't process the sugars in the bloodstream properly. The metabolism gets ruined, the thyroid gets affected. So the point is that it's a distraction that Jesus warns us against, to get caught up in appearance. And as I said at the very beginning, it's our temporal body. It's not gonna be at all times a full extension and expression of who we are. This is the spacesuit we're operating here in, built to recognize other true players. I can't say the whole thing, but we're meant to recognize one another. That's why we look a certain way, but we don't look like the full extent of who we really are. Like my features, for example, are meant to beacon the other player, the true player, the true projectionist. Horny by Mark Morrison. The reasons I did that was to hopefully came across to purify something that was deemed so unholy, but to bring it back and be like, yes, it is, but it has to be made holy, you know, and it has to be, and that's the same thing with simping. Girls aren't supposed to be like, oh, I really like you. And if they do, they should like, if you think I'm sexy, come on, baby, show me, you know. Putting nutrients into our body shouldn't be laughed at or judged. And also the idea behind it, the desire behind wanting certain nutrients to go in our body shouldn't be judged either. I think that's all I wanted to talk about today. Oh, and when two come together. Yeah, I wanted to do that too. When you think about that Bible verse, for when 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them. Matthew 18-19. Prayer then is the vehicle whereby we invite his spirit to be with us. How few is it, especially with the isolation and the separation, how few times are there when you actually feel like you're in the presence of another believer and another person of the Holy Spirit? There are so few moments of that strength and that power to just be with them. When 2 are gathered in my name. I was just thinking, there was one day I felt really depressed back in May, and there's one thing I said in my video. I said, I really wish there was a group of people who had gone through the same thing, who all feel like outsiders, who we could all walk together and laugh together and just be together and not really do anything, but just be in the presence of one another. And not a lot of people have experienced the same things I or you have. Very few. But to be in that 2 or 3, that gathering of 2 or 3, wouldn't that just be the answer? And the bulletproof invincibility that the Holy Spirit does offer and reward. Thank you.